Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakahakudash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in Isaiah chapter 60, verse 18. Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, wasting nor destruction within thy borders, but thou shalt call thy walls salvation and thy gates praise. And this is a future prophecy dealing with the children of Israel back in the Holy Land and ruling. And are you seeing violence no more being heard in the Holy Land right now? No, you're not. You've constantly got a friction between those Israelis and the Palestinians over there, that crisis with the Gaza Strip, those Israelis bombing targets in Syria, and those Israelis constantly fomenting for war against Iran. Just recently, they raised their defense budget by $1.5 billion in anticipation for a possible future strike against Iran's nuclear assets. Those people over there don't fit the prophecies of the Bible because they are not the true children of Israel. The true children of Israel are whom people ignorantly refer to as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And hence, why they're not back in the land is why there's violence no more being heard in the Holy Land. Those people over there right now are actually Amalekite Edomites, and they fit the prophecies of the Edomites dealing with the Holy Land, such as in Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 5, Idumea, which is the Greek way of saying Edom. What's that word? Idumea, pretty much getting the land appointing the land into their hands, beginning with the groundwork set by the Balfour Declaration in 1918, and then further cemented with UN charters and the Israeli Declaration of Independence in the late 1940s. And what have you seen since then? Violence, not just in that land, but all across the world. You had the Arab-Israeli War, the 6 Days War. There's been the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the First Gulf War, the Second Gulf War, the Syrian Civil War, the Civil War in Ukraine, and World War III hasn't even happened yet. And in this video, I'm going to go into an article just further showing that those people over in the land right now, those Amalekite Edomites, the 1948'ers, as we'll call them, are not the true children of Israel. And that when the true children of Israel are back in the land, that's when this prophecy will take place, amongst other prophecies. And the article I'll be profiling is on RT.com, titled, Israel, really the 1948'ers, the Amalekite Edomites, to target enemies with beams instead of missiles. And does this sound like violence no more being heard in the land? Of course not. With those Amalekite Edomites over there, violence is continuing to be heard in the land, and these Amalekite Edomites need this military hardware to defend themselves from those other heathen nations surrounding them. Israel has unveiled what it says is the world's first family of electronic warfare systems capable of detecting and disrupting multiple targets at the same time with the use of special beams. Its brand new Scorpius systems are equipped to deal with drones, ships, radar installations, and other aerial, ground, and naval threats. State-run defense contractor Israel Aerospace Industries, IAI, announced on Thursday. The units work not by firing missiles or bullets, but by sending out narrowly focused beams that jam various enemy systems, including radars, sensors, navigation equipment, and data communications. Based on the latest electronic scanning technologies, the Scorpius systems can cover vast areas and disrupt multiple targets at the same time, even if they're located at varying distances from each other, the company said. Protecting the use of the electromagnetic domain for our forces while denying its use by the enemy, has become mission critical for Israel, as this field is absolutely crucial for success in modern warfare, said Adi Dolberg, the head of IAI's intelligence division. The new technology developed by IAI's talented engineers tips the scale of electronic warfare, providing world-first breakthrough capabilities for the country, he added. 4 versions of Scorpius systems are available, with its ground variant, which can be both stationary and vehicle-based, intended for detecting and disrupting ground and airborne threats. The naval version is aimed at creating a sort of electronic protection dome above the vessel on which it's based, while the aerial system provides a warplane with the option of disrupting the enemy's electromagnetic operations, both on land and in air. There's also Scorpius T, used for training and getting the pilots acquainted with the hardware. The announcement of the new electronic warfare systems comes a week after the Israeli military launched a massive balloon in the north of the country. The Sky-Doo craft, which IAI also helped develop, is said to boost the country's air defenses through its radars, capable of detecting incoming long-range missiles, cruise missiles, and drones. Israel has been heavily invested in air defense and radar technologies in recent years due to concerns over the proliferation of Iranian drones and missiles in the Middle Eastern region, as well as the threat posed by makeshift rockets and incendiary balloons launched at the 1948’rs state from Gaza by Palestinian armed group Hamas. And here's a clip showing this Scorpius system.
Today's pilots face complex arenas saturated with advanced, mobile, and long-range threats. Training in a realistic, modern threat environment is the key to a pilot's combat readiness. Introducing Scorpius T, Alta's revolutionary multi-threat emulator. For live air combat training in a realistic environment, Scorpius provides individual threat training for each trainee, including 5th-generation fighter aircraft. The highly mobile system allows for easy deployment and effectively emulates various land-based threats. Emitters are programmed into the system's flexible database according to customers' training requirements. Scorpius T triggers aircraft's warning systems by accurately simulating the full engagement cycle of air defense systems, starting with search mode and progressing to lock-on and missile fire modes. The system is responsive to pilots' evasive maneuvers and EW measures. Will break lock and return to search mode when countermeasures are effective. Scorpius T emulates new advanced threats and simultaneously engages multiple trainee platforms with different threat patterns. The system provides effective post-mission debriefing, allowing in-depth analysis for enhanced learning and improvement. Scorpius T's advanced abilities are based on ASA technology, with high power and highly sensitive transceivers, supported by comprehensive planning, control, and debriefing tools. Alta's Scorpius T. Revolutionary air threat training for superior.
So if, as it says back in Isaiah 60 verse 18, when the true children of Israel were back in the land, violence would no more be heard in the land, then why do those people over there need these type of systems to protect them against their enemies? surrounding them and their military assets, because they're not the children of Israel. Again, they're Amalekite Edomites. Edomites fitting the prophecies of what the Edomites would do when they appointed the Holy Land into their possession, and they don't fit prophecies dealing with what the true children of Israel would be doing when they were back in the land. I'm going to reread this last paragraph. Israel has been heavily investing in air defense and radar technologies in recent years due to concerns over the proliferation of Iranian drones and missiles in the Middle Eastern region, as well as the threat posed by makeshift rockets and incendiary balloons launched at the 1948 state from Gaza by Palestinian armed group Hamas. Now I'm going to go to Micah chapter 4. I'm going to start at verse 1 to show what would be happening when the true children of Israel were back in the Holy Land. But in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of Yahweh shall be established in the top of the mountains. And in the scriptures, mountains can be symbolic for rulerships or governments. So this mountain is speaking of the kingdom of heaven, beginning with the elect under Yahushai, the 144,000, and the rest of the righteous 1/3. And it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it, not be shooting missiles or rockets at it, or planning to go to war against it. And many nations, many heathen nations, shall come and say, Come and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, and to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. And do you see the heathen nations following after the ways of those Amalekite Edomites, wearing yarmulkes, Shirley Temple curls, speaking Yiddish, or following after the Talmud? Of course not. You've got a lot of people on this planet against those Amalekite Edomites for how they're treating those Palestinians, as well as against them constantly fomenting for war against Iran. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. Another thing you're not seeing going on with those Amalekite Edomites over in the land. You're not seeing the laws, statutes, and the commandments of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai going forth from Zion. They actually have kosher pork over in the Holy Land, a parliament and government with its own laws separate from the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai over there. And Tel Aviv is known as Pink City, one of the pride hotspots on the entire planet. And then who runs Hollywood and who runs the porn industry? Some of the most destructive entities out here, those Amalekite Edomites. But here's the main point I wanted to get to. And he shall judge among many people and rebuke strong nations afar off, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more, neither shall violence be heard any more in thy lands. And you can clearly see that these heathen nations aren't learning war anymore. And we could clearly see it from that article I just read from on RT.com. Israel's continuing to create weapons systems to protect themselves against these other nations. Again, because they're not the true children of Israel. They're Amalekite Edomites who have appointed the land into their possession. And war will continue until they're taken out of the land and the true children of Israel are back in the land. And also, when the true children of Israel are back in the land, we're going to begin destroying the weapons of these heathen nations. I'm going to close it out in Ezekiel chapter 39. I'm going to read verses 9 to 10. And to give a little background to this event, this is when the true children of Israel come off of the chariots, which people ignorantly refer to as so-called UFOs, are back in the Holy Land. And Gog, or Russia, along with their forces, are going to try to attack the elect in the Holy Land, but they're going to get completely wiped away by Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, and the elect, who are going to have spiritual powers in that day. And they that dwell in the cities shall go, the cities of Israel shall go forth, the elect, the 144,000, and the rest of the righteous 1/3, and shall set on fire and burn the weapons, both the shields and the bucklers, the bows and the arrows, and the hand staves and the spears, all this military hardware that Gog or Russia and their allies came against the elect with, such as their fighter planes, tanks, artillery pieces, rifles, grenades, you name it, and they shall burn them with fire 7 years, so that they shall take no wood out of the field, neither cut down any out of the forests, for they shall burn the weapons with fire. And if they're not cutting down any wood to kindle a fire to burn these weapons, how are they going to burn these weapons? With spiritual powers. Hey, the 144,000 are going to be like Superman in that day, and all the powers that you associate with Superman, and even more, as it says in Zechariah chapter 14, and the house of David shall be as the Most High, and they shall spoil those that spoiled them, and rob those that robbed them, saith the Lord Yahweh. And after this event, the elect are going to be under Yahushai, are going to begin enslaving the heathen nations and putting them into hardcore bondage and captivity so they can spend the first 1,000 years of the kingdom of heaven building up the kingdom of heaven. And as we read back in Micah chapter 4, verse 3, they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks, and the heathen nations shall not learn war anymore. And then, of course, violence shall no more be heard in the land of Israel. There will finally be peace. So that's it with this video. Just another video cutting those Amalekite Edomites over in the Holy Land right now, who are imposters and not the true people of the book. So with this video, I hope you sincere Akim are edified. Just keep strong and keep pushing this word. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharallah, and until next time, Shalom.